Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our program. I hope you enjoyed a wonderful lunch. Dr. Anette Schunder-Hartung will be joining us today to moderate this headline event of ours, the General Counsel panel. She is a major figure in the Frankfurt scene. She specializes in law firm development and as well as organizes many events throughout the year for law firms to come together and cooperate. Please, let's give her a warm welcome.
Thanks to you all. Today I'm more than happy to exchange perspectives and change perspectives on a top-level dialogue with some corporate counsel. Those qualified experts are Florian Schäfer of Leica Camera AG, Victoria Nunez Francisco of Commerz Aareal. Then there's Steffen Sachse of Aareal Bank. Then there is Arne Witig of thyssenkrupp. And finally, please give a welcome to Thorsten, Dr. Thorsten Hennrich of PlusServer. So these are our guests, and maybe you can provide us, you as our guests, with a few words about yourself and your professional background. Maybe we can start with you, Florian.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here as well. My name is Florian Schäfer. I started my career as a lawyer in 2003. I worked for a law firm in Nuremberg. Then I joined the Fiat Chrysler Automobiles Group for 4 years before I came to Leica Camera, where I work today as general counsel.
Thanks a lot.
My name is Victoria Nunez. I'm, as Anette just said, head of legal of Commerz Aareal. This is a subsidiary of Commerzbank. I started my career at a big law firm in 2004.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Steffen Sachse. I'm a German and New York qualified lawyer. Since 2015, I'm general counsel at Aareal Bank in Wiesbaden, which is a MDAX-listed real estate financing bank. Before that, I actually spent 5 years saving banks at Soffen, at the Federal Financial Market Stabilization Agency. That's how I know Victoria very well too, because she was the one that watched over me when I went with the 25% and 1 share of the Federal Republic of Germany to vote at the Commerzbank general meetings, and that I pressed the right buttons. Before that, I spent 10 years in New York working for different investment banks, and started my career at Hessische Landesbank here in Frankfurt.
Good afternoon from me as well. My name is Arne Witig. I'm the Group General Counsel for thyssenkrupp, based in Essen, leading a global team of about 150 lawyers all around the world, supporting our very global, very diversified businesses. Before I joined thyssenkrupp 5 years ago, I had been with Deutsche Bank for more than 20 years, in the end as the Regional General Counsel for Germany and Europe.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Thorsten Hennrich. I'm head of legal at PlusServer in Cologne. We are an IT company. We are a cloud provider, German hosting provider, and we are one of the market leaders in managed cloud services. I also advise as a lawyer in information technology law, and moreover, and besides my legal career, I was a managing director of a German data center company for 15 years, so I know both worlds, the legal world and the tech world, and I suppose that's one of the reasons I'm here.
That's right. Now, thanks to you all, and I think we're going to start with the status quo. You're all invited to jump in. Please join the discussion. Please dare to join the discussion, even though these are potential or actual clients. I know this is not too easy to like step in and dare to say something, but they're not biting, and you don't need to say what law firm you're from. Now, looking upon the status quo, legal tech is a buzzword. We've heard about it for 2 days now, but it stands for a broad range of developments. Now, how important is this subject in your company or in your legal department really? What does it stand for? Who would like to tell us more about it? Who would like to start?
All right, then I start again.
Yeah.
Legal tech for me is more or less digitization, and to think about how to bring our everyday work into a digitized world. What at Leica have we done so far, and what qualifies actually me to sit here? It's been 5 years ago when we decided to grant legal tech or digitization access into our business. We decided to incorporate a document management system in our department, and ever since we work with it. I'm proud that we do so, because that is not self-evident. And last year we also thought about working with a SharePoint solution, which I don't have that much experience by now, but we're working on it. That has a block functionality as well, which may offer in the near future, or it does already, another way of communicating with my colleagues within the company to share information, share news, and be very close to our internal clients, actually. And that is the connection for me today.
For us in the company, legal tech is also very important, but not only legal tech. As Commerz has the aim to be the first digital asset manager for tangible assets. So this is also therefore very important for the legal department to use technical means to be ahead of the whole firm. What we implemented already in 2002 is a document management system, but not only the legal department, but the whole firm. This is a good thing, so we can store and work on all the documents with our internal clients, and we have the documents not only on our files, but on the files of the whole firm. This is very good. And the first tech solution, the second tech solution we also use is a software for our boards, for our supervisory boards, for our management board, to enable them to work on a tech solution where they can have access, secure access to all the documents for the board meetings, where they can have also board meetings away from the office, like voting on papers, having their documents signed electronically. This is also something which enables us to be more efficient and not to have to spend all the time in the office.
Perfect. To stay in the banking industry, Aareal Bank, of course, is not only involved in thinking about legal tech, but fintech, prop tech, and whatever the other buzzwords are, obviously play a large role. If I would start talking about this, you would still be sitting here tomorrow, so I want to focus a little bit on legal tech. However, you have to understand the environment we as a bank are in. Aareal Bank obviously is trying to digitize its whole business model. Digitalization is a big subject. And the one big problem obviously we face is having legal tech being compatible to all the other digitalization projects we run as a bank right now. To talk about the status quo, Aareal Bank has a second business line where we actually provide ERP systems to the housing industry, which means we have a subsidiary called Aareal, which already provides data centers and data hosting and cloud services to our clients in the housing industry. So that enables us to build a lot of this software that helps digitization also on the legal side for ourselves. So We use as well, obviously, from a third provider, however, digital systems to provide board members with all their and supervisory board members with all their documents wherever they are, on an iPad, on a PC, on their home PC. We can actually, as employees, log in from anywhere by now. We get a little token, you know, two-way authentication obviously is a big problem, and data protection is a big problem, but we are relatively far as a bank in implementing, I'd say, tech that also benefits the legal side, obviously, because we use these systems as well. However, there's big room for improvement, where we talk in a couple of questions later, I guess, with respect to contract management software, integrated document and process management services, where I see a huge, huge benefit in implementing legal tech to free, especially the lawyers in my team, from, I'd say, still quite a lot of administrative burden. But we are obviously looking at all of these potential possibilities too. Unfortunately, we're not as big as a big Commerz bank, for example, that can free a team of 30 people to just look at whatever's at the market and find a decision. We do this kind of business development a little bit on the side, and every person and every lawyer in my team and even the secretaries are kind of asked and feel a little bit happy to do this too, to look on the side for solutions that would fit in our teams, because they as lawyers obviously are the best ones to assess if a system would really fit their needs or not. So that's the status quo. Still a lot to be done.
A lot to be done, work in progress. I think that describes the situation at thyssenkrupp as well. We obviously have implemented a lot of legal tech solutions already. Nothing of that will surprise you. Actually, we use a software system for our participation management, for the corporate housekeeping of our group companies, where we keep track of who the directors are and which company is holding the shares in which other companies, so that we can print out group structures and things like that, the usual things. We actually have introduced internet or intranet based document management system for our supervisory board, have provided the supervisory board members with iPads, which is interesting to see how they use them. One of them, I won't disclose the name, actually has 3 iPads for each supervisory board mandate in different corporations, a different iPad, so to keep track of where he or she is at the moment. Legal tech meets people, happens. What we are currently doing, what I see as a challenge, is what we have done, and I think we have been quite successful with this. We have implemented a legal tech IT solution for the archiving, making transparent, managing our entire world of guidelines, policies around the world. We call this the document desk, where you can find all the policies that are applicable to your particular line of business, your particular transaction. That has been quite successful, probably low-hanging fruits, and we're struggling at the moment with implementing a contract management system. It very clearly shows that the world of legal tech still is under development. One important lesson is there is no off-the-shelf solution that is ready to be implemented without customizing it, obviously. Secondly, what we are struggling with, as I said at the beginning, ours is a very diverse business. We have 5 business areas who do totally different things. Servicing elevators on the one hand, which is sort of a mass market retail business. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of service contracts for small amounts on the one side of our business, and at the other end of the range, we have very bespoke contracts for building a new cement factory in an Asian state, where you obviously negotiate a very long contract for sometimes years, actually, to find a bespoke solution. How do we cover all these different types of contracts with one contract management system? The answer is probably we won't be able to do this, so we have chosen a step-by-step approach, and we take portfolios of contracts that we want to transfer to the legal tech, to the contract management system. This is still work in progress, and this is one example, one of the challenges that we are currently struggling with.
Thank you. We are also currently implementing a contract management system. So we are also using contract management software, document management software, service offer management software. We have various software applications in use. So legal tech is for us very important to see what's coming up, what are further or future possibilities on how legal work can be undertaken more efficiently, more cheaply, more effectively. This is one of the matters why legal tech is important for us. On the other hand, we are a cloud service provider, so we are also offering our infrastructure to legal tech providers so that they can run their software solutions on our systems. So that's also an interest for PlusServer.
Thanks a lot to all of you. Now, I've heard about document management, about data centers, about corporate housekeeping, documents, desks, contract management systems. This is quite a bit about taming data. What I'd like to hear about at this point is about like applications that do really interfere with lawyers' work, because we'd like to talk about what lawyers, for which legal services in-house departments do not longer pay for. And taming data is something that we all have to do, that lawyers have to do, that corporations have to do. But taming data is one step. Not paying lawyers because we can do it ourselves, you can do it yourselves, is another step. How, in what respect does this interfere with the works that is usually provided by lawyers? And where's the replacement? Where's the point at which you say, okay, I'm doing this in-house, and this is not something I'm going to pay a lawyer for, but did in the past? Is there any connection to specify it?
I can start again.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Well, I personally believe that, let me make one step back maybe.
Yeah, sure.
When I talk about legal tech and digitization, and I try to think of what was the reason to start with all that. And the reason for me, or for Leica Camera, was to become more efficient, and that is something probably we have all in common. And when you talk about services that we as in-house counsels, or I as in-house counsel want to pay for, it's also about efficiency. And what are the services that we can do ourselves? I mean, I have probably, compared to the other panelists, a quite small legal department. We are more the generalist counsels at Leica Camera. So there will be, and that is the good news and no surprise, there will be more than enough room for external advisors and counsels to do their job in the future, for us at least. And but at the same time, the legal tech offers us some it makes it easier to draft standard contracts. We share information, we are quicker, and that is something where we may not need external advisors in the first place in the future. That is one of the aspects.
Okay, understood.
I think the legal tech means we are using today. They, of course, they assist us in our daily work, but they are not abolishing the work we give to lawyers. It's the same, I think. But in the mid or long term, we expect that law firms use the legal technology that is offered, that is now offered or will be offered in the future. Like, for example, there exists software solution who can analyze a whole real estate portfolio. And nowadays we are paying for associates doing this work, and this is a lot of work, and it's very expensive. And in the future we won't pay for that. And in the future we would expect that the law firm uses these technologies to make it less expensive. Or, I mean, it depends on the price. Maybe it's also worth that we buy this technology, but this will depend on the costs for the implementation of that software and any further licensing costs and further updates and so on. So it depends on whether this product amortizes or not.
Yeah, I see. So software solutions instead of associates, to put it in a nutshell. Is there any practical experience?
I wouldn't say instead. I think they should use the technology, and that therefore there must be a lawyer or a law firm looking at whether the results make any sense or doesn't make any sense. But I think to assist the work, you should use the
in addition to fewer associates, let's put it this way. Sorry, sometimes I'm just highlighting it to put the discussion on a way. Is there anyone in the audience to have some practical experience with it, just to share it with us? Is there any like development which you can report from, or is there anything that you can like see, or is there any? Let's put it the other way around. Is there any law firm that says, well, we're working with the help of software solutions, and therefore like with 3 instead of 6 associates, and that's why we're still pitching successfully and working very successfully and very future oriented? Is there any practical experience here in this room? Or will you tell me that there's none? Yeah, here's someone. We'll give the micro to you.
Yes, I'm a transactional lawyer in M&A and corporate since over 20 years now, working with big and smaller clients. And in the end, it's all a matter of pricing. And normally the client doesn't care whether I use legal tech or not, but he wants a good quality, high quality, first. Second, to a reasonable price. And how I get there to meet his pricing expectations is something which needs to be negotiated, or basically the ball is in my court. I have to organize it efficiently internally. And I'm really happy that you're all here to inform yourself about what's available on the market to really make a lawyer's life more efficient, but there are limits to it up to now. So the 2 things that I usually am confronted with those issues to be more efficient and the pricing, to really tag the pricing issue, is due diligence. How many lawyers have to work in a data room in several different countries, which makes it really expensive in the end. And then obviously come up with the first intelligent draft for a complex project. And here I think the contract assembly systems that are available with really intelligent content, there's nothing that I've seen that is readily available to use to make the first draft of a complex M&A transaction really available in a short time. There are tools to assemble from intelligent internal resources to assemble the contract efficiently and seemingly and help doing that. And there may be the expectation of the client that I use such a system, but I can organize that also intelligently inside, that I say, well, we need to talk about pricing, and I'm not billing you maybe for a few hours that I have used to come up with an intelligent service or M&A contract. But the client accepts, the high quality, and in the end, the pricing is all right, because I haven't seen an intelligent model for who's doing that. Press a button, and there's the intelligent M&A contract coming up, which serves all the requirements of that particular transaction. So there's still a way to go, and in the end, to me, it's all a management of expectations, really. Because I had a general counsel asking me to, since I'm here, look out for a software that takes off a lot of my work with NDAs, right? So I need a software that basically screens the first NDA, reads the markup, takes a decision whether I accept it or not, and comes up with, a final execution version, so I can sign it, right? So basically, if there would be a solution like that, you could replace one person probably out of his in-house department, and that would be perfect. It doesn't exist, so it's really a matter of managing expectations here. My experience is that really the high quality work is still up for lawyers. You need your tools for due diligence. We've heard, like luminance could be a solution, and that's the expectation, I think, which is fine. I think I can accept, but it really needs to have the educational step also between the attorney and the client. What is available? What can be done to a certain pricing, and also with long-term effects. And I think then there's no gap between client and attorney in terms of pricing issues and discussions around it.
Thanks a lot. Answers from the panel, Steffen?
Yeah, sure. I certainly agree with you. Obviously, from the view of an in-house legal department, especially from a bank, we are under extreme cost pressure, as you all know, the low interest environment. We have to find ways to work more efficient. One way is obviously to have your external counsel you have to use for this and that eventually. Obviously find ways to work more efficient and become cheaper at the end without diminishing the quality of work. Obviously that's something that's very good. From a view of an in-house department, I would see legal tech as one part, a major part maybe, but not the only part of improving or developing the in-house legal department of the future effectively. Obviously there's a lot of potential in the legal tech, but if I look at it, what would I outsource actually to an external counsel? To come back to your original question. First of all, I outsource if I don't have the necessary expertise. This has happened a lot in the past where, as you said, at Leica, you are more the generalists. Obviously in the banking, in my team as well, but I see this across the board in banks, we are becoming more and more specialized. Every year I do an educational program, basically, which conferences to attend, which legal advances do you want to make to specialize each one of my team more in his special subject, his or her special subject and adjacent subjects, so we can do more and more in-house. This is the first part, obviously, where I start to have more expertise in-house and I don't need to outsource that much. If I need to outsource, because big M&A transactions, for example, due diligence, as you mentioned, is something where I just might not have the manpower to do it, or I'm missing certain expertise in other jurisdictions or in certain legal subjects where we are just not so specialized. We as a bank are working in, I think, 27 jurisdictions. So if we grant a loan, a commercial real estate loan somewhere in one of those 27 jurisdictions, obviously we work with local counsel there too, because it just wouldn't make sense to have 27 different lawyers from different jurisdictions in our legal team. And obviously we try to mitigate this, however, as well. by actually trying to produce as much as we can by ourselves. So if there's a certain legal question that needs to be covered, we actually produce the first draft and then just try to give it to an external counsel to vet it effectively and not having to do the whole work. That's one way we can save costs on the outsourcing, but we will always need to outsource. And obviously there's the third part, don't quote me on that, but it's when you need, when the, let's say, your boss doesn't like the answer you're giving him, even though we consider ourselves as solution providers, even in the legal department, and not just as the no-sayers, but eventually he doesn't, or she doesn't like the answer you're giving, and then you might need a second or third or fourth opinion to convince him or her. So that is the third time we outsource to have covered this. So legal tech plays a role, but the development of the education of your own legal team, and obviously together with the use of legal tech to make sure administrative burden is taken away. Contract management systems, document management systems, I find very important because we as in-house counsels know nobody else knows that within our organizations, but we know it and we try to communicate that too. We are actually the brain and the knowledge base of the whole organization. Nobody but the legal department basically can go back 10 or 20 years and produce the knowledge, the corporate knowledge that has accumulated until then, but the legal departments. So now we have an email system where we look at, if I need to look for something, to give you a practical example, I look through my Outlook emails, if I find an email where somebody wrote something, or I look through some folder structure on server T, for example, where somebody might have actually PDF'd and saved as that email I'm looking for or not. And even in that case, I cannot do a full text search, but I really have to hope that whoever saved that gave it the correct document name so I can find it. So a document and maybe even a process management system where you can do a full text search that goes back more than 10 years, for example, because legally you're only required to keep certain things up to 10 years, sometimes even shorter, is very, very important to reduce the time you even look for things. That's just a practical example where I find we can do a big improvement.
Thanks a lot. Speaking of outsourcing, the other panelists, I'd like to know, when do you outsource? However, do you outsource to law firms in case you are outsourcing from your own legal departments? And when you're outsourcing to law firms, do you pay for it? The practical reason I'm asking is that I do have feedback from different law firms that they have to sign contracts saying that first-year associates are not paid for any longer. I do have these contracts. I do know these contracts from various law firms. First-year associates are not paid for any longer by legal departments. I don't know if you want to answer to this, but generally speaking, outsourcing, what do you outsource or what do you source out, and to whom and to what extent? The others, please. Short statement, because we only have all in all like 12 minutes left.
If I may start, is it on?
Yes, please.
My impression is from what you just said is that we all outsource more or less the same things. It's either a matter of whether there are internal resources to cover issues, extraordinary things like our ongoing joint venture with Tata in the steel industry. This is obviously something that the legal department on a day-by-day basis has not been built for, that we need additional resources. And the other reason is we need special expertise, which for matters that don't come up on a daily basis, the one-off where we need external expertise. When it comes to paying outside counsel, my experience is, and we are entertaining a rather strict policy on this now, we have gone largely away from an hourly billing system. We expect our law firms, we have a panel of law firms, to quote fixed prices for transactions, for tasks that we outsource to law firms. And then we leave it to the law firms actually to provide their services most effectively. Whether they, I hope they pay their first year associates, but what they pay for first year associates, or whether the law firms themselves use subcontractors that go at a different rate, a lower rate than first year associates, or the law firms use legal tech, we would leave this entirely to the law firms. And I think this is, I think, the sort of paradigm change that we are expecting from the law firms. I think we all as lawyers are trained to do things ourselves. And I personally, and I think everybody has this sort of professional deformation that if I don't do it myself, it can't be good. We experience this everywhere with our law firms. How could we give this to subcontractors? Because then it's not our law firm that provides the services. I always mention the car industry, which is these days maybe not a good example anymore. But when you look at it, the Daimlers, the Volkswagen, very few parts that are in a car are actually, or take Apple as a better example, the iPhone. There is nobody in California who actually produces an iPhone. All of this has been outsourced, and nevertheless, it's a high-quality product, and Apple gives their good name to that product. This is exactly what we expect from our law firms. Deliver a very good product, not at an iPhone price, but as a more reasonable price. And how you assemble this is entirely up to the law firm. This is our expectations in our law firm.
We are outsourcing. We are outsourcing to law firms. We are working with first-year associates, but I'm sure on the long term, software can replace first-year associates. Not entirely, but in some parts. So that's one of the or my prediction is that this is where legal tech might lead us in the upcoming years. One thing I want to add, because we were talking about costs, we were talking about all the advantages legal tech services provide to us, how we can, how legal work can be undertaken in general. For us as a service provider, and we are certified by many ISO 27001 and 9001 and other certifications. For us, it's very important, or one of the major questions is data security, or is data protection guaranteed? If we walk around, we see various software solutions. They all have potential, but for me, one of the reasons, or one of the points I ask myself before I make the decision of whether the service will be outsourced or if we do it inside our legal department, is also data protection and data security. So we have to look where the service is run. Is it an application which might be run in the US? Because in due diligences we have sensitive data, and I do not want that data to be transferred to the United States, for instance.
Yeah, thanks. So, Vicky.
To come back to your questions, whether we exclude first-year associates, no, we don't. I don't think that makes sense. I would not be quite sure whether the law firm would actually not let the first-year associate work. I mean, but the law firm might tend to bill the partner's hourly rate, and have the associate work, and then review the work, because the partner has only 24 hours a day, so he wouldn't make the time, or be able to make the time to work also on the whole transaction. So I don't think that makes sense. But as I said before, I think, but yes, much work that first-year associates do today might be replaced by a software solution, so they can maybe do different things. I mean, I have been also first-year associate at a big law firm. I know it's not only standardized work what a first-year associate does, so I think there's still work for a first-year associate.
I'm fine with first-year associates work as well. But I think in the end, it's about the balance. I mean, when a first-year associate, it make more time to find the right or the qualified solution that can be offered to the client. And if the partner then still has to look over and both gets invoiced, well, that will most likely not be accepted. Or that's what I can say for myself. But it's about the balance. I think that's it for me.
Thanks a lot. Well, unfortunately, there's only like 5 minutes left at this point, so it's time for fairies. Well, I'm a mom, and so I love fairies very much. Now, if a good fairy flew into this room, flew into your company rather, and then you had a wish to make as to how ideally fair market conditions would look like in another 5 years, what would you say? How were these conditions? How would they look like? Could you answer this question? Vicky, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think it would be great to see on a billing the real costs. So maybe the costs for the lawyers, the cost for implementing, for using software, and what I would also like to see is, that they not only use lawyers, but also, for example, project managers. I mean, when I was in a law firm, all the work were done by lawyers, also project management. When I changed sides, I saw that the bank, I worked for a Commerzbank before, nor Commerz Real would do project management by a lawyer. There's no point why a project manager needs 2 state examinations. They need different skills, which a lawyer might have or might not have, but I mean, they're people trained for project management. So I would like to see that in the future, law firms would also use project managers, people with IT skills for programming software, so that we have a clear and transparent bill so to see what I'm actually paying for, and that they use cost-efficient means for providing their legal services.
Thank you, Vicky.
If I may add on this, obviously we very often see what they're billing for, and my wish, if the ferry would come, is that we are actually billed for the output that's produced. When I see bills where I see hours and hours of internal Abstimmungsmeetings between the partner and the second, third, and even the first year associate, I don't really care where the output is coming from, but I think a fair pricing should be based on the quality of the output and not so much on actually the hours everybody spends on thinking about you as a client.
But does it work the other way around? Are you going to value price if there's a very short time spent on a certain matter, which is splendid? Would you then pay 5 times the price or 6 times the price? That is the flip side. You have to say yes.
Yes, because I would ask you before engaging you what the price would be. So I would like either try to agree on a cap or on a fixed rate. And if you don't take all the time and produce the outcome I wouldn't cut your bill down, because this is what we agreed before.
Thank you.
Dr. Röder was right. So go on. Who's next with a fairy question?
I don't think that I have to add anything. Just to emphasize once more that from my viewpoint, yes, we have to get away from the hourly billing model because it's entirely wrong and it's entirely broken. To answer your question, there is a sort of little anecdote where in a large firm there's a very important machine and the machine breaks down and nobody's able actually to start the machine again. And then somebody remembers there's an old employee who had a lot of experience, and they call him and he comes in back again from retirement and he takes a little hammer, looks at the machine and taps the machine in a specific spot, and suddenly the machine runs again. This employee, the retired employee, sends an invoice to the company. Your question, 10,000 euros. The manager of the company is totally enraged, Can't be that for 10 minutes and one tap with the hammer, you charge me 10,000 euro. The employee says, yes, you're probably right. I will send you a revised invoice. Next day, the revised invoice arrives. Tapping with the hammer, 5 euros. Knowing where to tap, 9,995 euros. This is exactly the model that we have to employ. With the twist that you said, we have 3 law firms compete, and the law firm that will deliver the services not for 10,000 euros, but for 5,000 euros. Whatever their investment, their effort is, the time that they have to spend, they will get the contract. Same quality, obviously, implied.
I'm looking forward actually to the upcoming 5 or 10 years, how legal tech is going to further develop. Right now we are at legal tech 1.0, or let's say legal tech 2.0, but I'm very much looking forward to legal tech 5.0 or 6.0, when machine learning and artificial intelligence is combined with all these great software solutions that are out there. And it's going to be very exciting to me how the whole legal tech world is going to develop in the future.
Yeah, and in my professional life in the ferry, I think I don't have that much to add. The only thing I have in mind is, I mean, I am forced every day to work more efficient, and I would love to share that with all the law firms out there. Not every year other and higher hourly rates, but let's share that in mind. That's it.
Thanks a lot. My own final word would be Gustav Mahler's paraphrase of Thomas More, or Thomas Morus, how we call him here. Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of fire. So why don't we preserve our tradition of being good lawyers altogether, but let's put it in a sense of integration. Let's commit to project assistance, to document management systems, to more efficiency and output, same as to human smartness and flexibility in a sense as to where to push the hammer. Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of fire. This is about fire, no less. Thanks to all of you. Thank you.